Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Old Moon Podcast, episode 14. We have made it this far. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Actually
Ow.
crazy. Actually crazy that we have made it this far. But the new expansion is finally here. It's happening. It's happening.
It happened. It happened.
I am Blue Squadron as always, and I am joined with my co-hosts here. We'll go with Jay first.
Me first? Okay. Hi.
Jay! You're never ready.
Hi, I'm Jay Kuhn, and I'm an Awakening Whistlewayne with 760 gear score now, and I do a lot of endgame content such as Olin's, The Dungeon, and now Boss Blitz. And welcome to the Old Moon Podcast, episode 14. Go ahead, Tiltus.
And Tiltus.
And I'm Tiltus TV. He already introduced us into the podcast, so now I'm kind of weirded out. Like, I upgraded. I look nice. I'm nice and
He
high
looks
def
so much
now.
better. Yeah, he looks so
Oh my
much better.
God.
Look how good he looks. It's juice.
I know.
Uh-huh.
But yeah,
Honestly-
I'm supposed to say I'm a content creator now, allegedly,
Wow.
and full-time shot caller for the Guild Solace. I do lots of PvP, and I have been losing my mind over this new expansion.
Okay, can I just say that I feel like I sent out a memo that said the dress wear was casual, and Jay got that memo, but then sent out his own memo, and then Jay sent out his own memo and said we needed to do formal, but then reneged on his own, but forgot to tell Tiltus. And so Tiltus is actually the one in the tux today, and Jay is all casual with me.
This is
So,
not a
What's
tux.
going on?
I might have a tux jacket in the closet. I don't remember if I have it here or if my parents still have it for some reason, but
You got some fancy schmanciness going on. All right, well, our featured art today comes to us from Dreamness, who drafted a very beautiful picture of the Land of the Morning Light there, which is going to
It's so
encompass
good.
a good amount of our discussion today. So the first thing I actually want to ask you is very similar to the art, is the aesthetics of the expansion. Okay, yes, the art is very aesthetically pleasing. It looks beautiful, but good artists are like that. Do you guys like the aesthetics of the new expansion? Do you like the feel and just the ambiance, the look of the new expansion, and the thematic? Just separate everything else for now. We have to take this one bite at a time. Why don't we go Tiltus first?
So I was kind of skeptical that it was gonna feel like every other like Asian style like expansion for a while. But it's very unique, and it does not feel like any other like Eastern kind of area that I've ever seen in MMOs. So I was really pleasantly surprised at how the expansion feels. I think it feels really nice. The aesthetics are super pleasing. You know what, the one thing that I kept doing while I was pathing around, I kept like getting distracted by what I was directly looking at, and I would miss my turn up the mountain like every single time. I would run by it, and I said it so many times this weekend. I was like, oh, hang on, I got to turn around again.
It's like that scene in The Matrix where you looking at me or the woman in the red dress.
Yeah, exactly. And then Agent Smith is right there, and I'm like, wait, I can explain. Enjoyable to play. I was so sucked into the story the whole time. Like, I was actually just dumbfounded at how good the quest actually was. They hit the nail on the head with this one. Like, I loved it. I want more. I wanted part 2. Like, I've already tweeted about it. I'm like, give me part 2 now. Like, I need don't leave me hanging for a year. I can't. Yeah. I need it now. Like, I need to know. So I loved it. It was fantastic. From start to finish, it was just immaculate. It was great storytelling all around.
I'm not gonna lie and say that it was perfect.
No, it wasn't.
It was an excellent story. Really, really long. But an excellent story nonetheless. I think that, I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed all of them except for the Dokebis, which we will get to later. I did not like the Dokebi questline, and it is not because of the chests, but I also didn't like the way they had their chests everywhere either. But like the Dokebis in general, I just couldn't follow that storyline for some reason. I just couldn't get into it.
Oh, really?
Most
I had
of
the
it
opposite.
I just didn't. I don't know. I just couldn't. It wasn't doing it for me. The Songachi and all the rest of them were really, really good. And I really enjoyed it. I liked how, like, I don't know, it felt like as an expansion, it felt like a continent. Right? This was a totally different, instead of one seamless quest that kind of made you go all the way through, it was like it felt like you were going village to village. And every village had its own little thing going on, you know, and every group of like townsfolk or adventurers that you met had their own troubles that you had to help them fix. And then in the background, there were undertones of like the overarching storyline. And that's what did it for me. That was beautifully done. That was excellently orchestrated. And that is exactly how they should handle doing this stuff in the future. It was great. It wasn't perfect. It didn't really... Did I feel invested in the storyline? Absolutely. Did I feel like I was like, for the Horde? You know, like in World of Warcraft? Absolutely not. Right? So there's still some lacking there, I think. Like, there's still some, like, emotional attachment that I would like to feel to these people, to these characters, to these regions that is just not there, that they just have not been able to capture yet. But... this is a massive step forward over like the Calpheon questline, or even like the Mountain of Eternal Winter questline that we saw before. The Mountain of Eternal Winter questline, we were like, "Fuck! Holy crap! There's voice acting. What a concept! It's 2022. This is insane." And now we're like, "Oh my gosh! There's actually a coherent story that we could feasibly listen to and follow." Right? It wasn't necessarily good per se. It was solid, right? I liked the little tales and stuff, but it wasn't really gripping, right? It wasn't like really gripping. I really did enjoy it, and it did feel like you know, each townsfolk had their own storyline to get involved in, but like, I don't know, I really want to be gripped. I want to jump into the story and be like, let's go for Haso, let's get it.
I'm 110% fight you on that one.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
We can square up on that one. Now, I actually got super sucked into the story. The beginning was a little slow, but I felt like it did a pretty good job of like grabbing me into the action. Spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't actually played it and wants to do it. We're gonna be talking about some spoilers for a minute. But when you fight the Musa the very first time, I was like, okay, I'm like a little interested. Okay, like you kind of sucked me in. Like we've been accused of some stuff. Like I'm curious what's going on. It was a little slow from about the time of the Musa for me until the first tale, which what was her name, Bari. That tale was actually a straight 10 out of 10 for me. I actually got like a little emotional at the end of that quest. Yeah. With the whole like her dad just being like, nah, fuck you, like throwing the snake over the cliff, really tragic, and then like and then she gets blackmailed by the government like later on, and that's like the whole reason that she's been cursing people in the forest. Like it was just like really good. And then at the end she like still protected her family, like her family in quotation marks, you know, her adopted family. I was just like, damn, this is good. Like I really liked it. I actually think like one of my least favorite tales out of the whole thing was maybe, I didn't get super behind the Gensetsu or Gensensei, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Yeah. And Bamboo Legion. Those two were like,
you didn't like Bamboo Legion?
I liked
my
Bamboo
boy
Legion. Like
Bamboo
Legion for me was like some nice comedic relief, honestly. I really enjoyed all the other stories. I loved the Gumiho story, and I actually really liked the Dokebi storyline. But what did you pick? Awful. What choice did you pick in the Dokebi storyline?
I don't remember. I was so lost at that point. I was
Yeah. I also helped the princess, and the thing I think I enjoyed most about the Dokebi story was that it tied into the whole reason that you were accused of things in the beginning of the zone when you first popped into the zone. And I was like, oh, now we're tying all the loose ends together. Now everything's starting to come together. I'm starting to understand. And so I loved it. I loved like all of it. Even the only thing I did not enjoy was the rom-com epilogue. I was like, get out of here. I was like, go on. I was like, you're gonna give me this like I was like, you're gonna give me this like 8 out of 10 fucking story, like and then give me the rom-com like 3 quests in a row. I was like, go on, leave. But very thoroughly enjoyed all of it from start to finish. I was yelling the entire time that I was like doing Sunday, like when I was finishing it up, and I was like, "Fuck the government, get him out!" Like I was so
That is
invested
true.
at that point.
The Golden Pig quest line, actually,
Yes.
I was like, "Are you kidding right now?
I was like, so mad.
Are you absolutely joking?" Sorry, Jay. Why don't you talk? Go ahead, Jay. Go, Jay.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Golden Pig questline was probably my least favorite out of the quest lines, just because of how mad I got at the government, basically. Like, because the Golden Pigs, it felt so unfair. They literally didn't do anything wrong. They were actually helping the poor people, and then were essentially subjugated by the government because of greed. And us, the traveler, was being led on to believe that they were eating people, but surprise, the government was lying to us. What the heck?
Okay, first,
surprise.
Why are you two laughing? Biden has literally never lied in his life.
Monk.
Are you implying? No. What are you? Okay.
Oh, no.
That set aside, I did not like that they butchered and ate that poor pig's wife. Aside from the fact that I'll bet she was
The
big
rosy
tasty.
pig.
Yeah, I bet she was big tasty, but like that was out of line. And also, I was really hoping that they would turn into pigs at the end of it. My least favorite character was the dude that he reminded me of that dude from Mulan with the pen. Well, like, you know, and he's like taking all the notes. Yeah, like that guy. Like that's. I was like, I hate this guy already.
What was he? The Young Bong?
Yeah, I did not like that
title.
guy.
Oh God, that guy. Oof.
I did, however, love my boy Ondal was the best. I sort of I walked into Hasu County or whatever, or Hanji County, and everyone is Texan, super Southern. Very red looking county, you know what I'm saying? And I turn right, and this man is the only guy in the whole county that voted Democrat. I'm not even joking. That guy, he looked so funny and out of place, just a total goofball. And he's just standing there dancing. He's just standing there dancing. He's like, even the town's under attack, Ondal. He's like, I know. What are we gonna do about it? You know,
just go with the flow,
he's just
man.
jamming, and I was like, I don't understand. Like, this is what Jay thinks that America is like. This is what he thinks we're like. Who are your guys? Who was your favorite character in the storyline?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it was definitely Ondal, as we were saying, when you meet him in the bamboo questline. I was saying to my chat the other day about during this questline that they literally wrote me in the story, because Ondal was kind of like this pushover, right? And everyone was basically taking advantage of his kindness, and I kind of related heavily to this guy because I'm also kind of a yes person, right? A yes man. It's always been hard for me to say no to people when I'm requested to do something, because I would always have this feeling in my heart that I would let them down if I did refuse, or they would dislike me or think of me less. So I have been a lot better about this, but it definitely really hit home really hard when I heard his cries of complaints at the end when he was,
I loved that was the reason the Bamboo Legion was like all up in arms, was just this dude going to the pit and screaming, fuck you.
Yeah,
I liked it. I like that. I like that storyline, mainly because I felt most engaged to that storyline, probably because I'm the comedy guy. I like the funny. I like the comedic relief, right? And fortunately, that was the one I did first, so everything else was just downhill. From there.
Oh gosh.
I don't know. Like it kind of takes me back. All right, this is what I was talking about before the podcast. There was a comment on our last podcast that said, "I feel like this podcast is the perfect mix of 3 personality types. You've got funny, you've got anger, and you've got suave." And I just started laughing. I just started laughing my ass off. Because I'm gonna be honest, who's the suave? Who's the comedy? And who's the anger? Oh man, it killed me.
I'm curious.
It killed me. But anyway, I'm
definitely the funny guy, so
Jay knows where he fits into society. He has a firm handle.
Deadpan, like
firm handle.
Sure about that?
On exactly where he sits. Beautiful. Jay. Okay. So yes, I think we all liked Andal. Tiltus, who was your favorite character? Did you say?
I really liked Dulceway the whole time. I absolutely like. At first, I was like, all right, the Texan accent is really irritating me. And for the first little bit, he still kind of irritated me. And then we got to Hanji County, and I understood that everybody from Hanji County talks in a Texan accent. And I was like, it's totally fine. It fits into the story. I no longer have an issue with it. And from that moment on, I was just like one of my favorite characters. Do
you know who the voice actor of?
I do. I had to go look it up because I had to make sure that I knew who it was, and I was very impressed. I told my brother today when we were driving home from work, I was like, yo, guess who does the voice acting? Probably did like at least like 16 hours worth of dialogue for this new expansion. And he was like, who? And I was like, Pros. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah. So I was impressed. I think he did a great job.
ProZD.
ProZD, yeah.
Who is that?
ProZD. He's a very popular YouTuber, and he used to be on Vine a lot before that died.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that there are favorite characters. Okay, so we've gone over some of the least favorite characters, and honestly, those are the characters. Your favorite and least favorite characters are the good indicators for the characters that were done well. Right? The memorable character, the memorable characters, like the ones that are actually they make you feel an emotion. And part of my gripe with the main storyline was there was just too much people that were just, I just don't care about this person. I don't know this person's name, and I don't care to remember it. So like, I don't know. I just felt like I needed it to be more emotionally gripping. And I think for me, I really want to just attach like my character to a quest line. Like I want to choose to be a part of Calpheon or Valencia or Haso, you know what I mean? And so I think that's what's really missing for me is because I can't get that emotionally invested. Whereas Tiltus gets emotionally invested when they literally dangle anything in front of him that is reasonable questing.
That is not true at all.
This was
dude,
good.
The fucking body quest was so good. Like it was just fantastically written. That's the one that stuck out to me the most, where I was like, wow, this was really just fantastic writing.
All right, well, let's compare it to World of Warcraft storyline. You guys ever played WoW?
No.
Okay.
I have
you ever played
for expansion? Yeah.
Okay. Jay, what'd you think of the WoW WoW storyline, just the questing and the storyline itself against what we just went through in BDO?
I think in terms of WoW, they kind of have this sort of overarching story that always ties everything together, and I think that's what's missing a little bit about BDO, really, because I mean, I'm still not personally sure what the overarching story of BDO is, if it has one. I feel like it has something to do with the Black Spirit or Elezra or something, but we haven't really delved
always
deep into
Elezra.
it.
We've talked about this. Hey, guess who didn't make an appearance?
Into it, so.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah,
There's
I'm
still
surprised.
another
I actually
expansion
really
for it.
thought. I
really thought she was going to
appear at
there
the end
somewhere.
but she wasn't.
Was
The
fully
Maywa
prepared
walks
to be
out
upset.
and just changes, and I'm like, this son of a. Like,
I was fully ready. I was like, she's gonna be here. Like we all know she's gonna be here somewhere.
Gonna pop out of that little orb, like. But yeah, no, I agree. It was missing. Like, it did have small undertones of the overarching story, but not of BDO as a whole. Right? There was no like big movement in the background that we saw. And so now I'm gonna look at. Have you, Tiltus? You ever played Final Fantasy?
Of course,
14?
that's what I was gonna say.
Okay, so compare it to that quest line. What'd you think about that? Because I know that's a pretty gripping quest line too.
Yeah. So the best art. I haven't played the most recent expansion for Final Fantasy, so it could be that that's even a better story. But if Heavensward is the best story in Final Fantasy 14 and is like a 10 out of 10, this probably landed for me like somewhere around 7, I think, as a whole. Like if we're comparing like Final Fantasy to this, I think it's probably appropriate that this was about a 7. It was as good as some of the Final Fantasy stories. I really enjoyed it very thoroughly and got sucked into the characters. But it's not like Heavensward was a 10 out of 10. If you guys have not played it, you shameless, unplugged, not sponsored, but you can play it up to Heavensward, I think, for free. I don't know if that's still a thing.
Wow.
But I highly recommend that if you like story games, play through that in particular as a story game, and then you can do whatever.
But Tiltus, why? Why was that story better than the one that you did? Like, Land of the Morning Light was great, and in terms of BDO standards, the best we have seen. But compare it to the other MMOs in the genre. So, like, why is Final Fantasy, in your mind, a 10 out of 10? Why is that storyline so good to you?
So that one has a lot of like very like political undertones with it the entire time, which is like for like, sorry, I just bumped the shit out of my mic, for the entire like Final Fantasy 14 world. Which makes it really interesting, because you're getting all this information of like, okay, this person's aligned with this faction, this person's aligned with this faction, this person you thought was evil earlier actually is good now, and like they mix up all this stuff. So it's like you're not only getting like personal stories, where you're getting invested in some of these characters. Like there's character death is a very real thing in Final Fantasy's world. So like there are certain times when you're really questioning like, okay, what's about to happen to like a good portion of these characters. They just keep you right on the edge of your seat the entire time, and they pace it in such a way that it feels like you always want to find out what happens next. And this quest, while I did really want to continue playing it, did not have that same like clamp, for lack of a better word, that Final Fantasy games can really get on you, where it's like, I don't want to do anything for the next 20 hours and I will stay up and play this game nonstop until then. It was like, I want to know what happens next, but I'm not at the point where I'm like losing a ridiculous amount of sleep to learn what happens next. It was like, all right, it's about 1 a.m. I'm going to go to bed now. I'll pick up tomorrow.
Right. Perfect. And there it is. Right. Like, I think that, I mean, halfway through this quest, I'm sure that we were all like, okay, how much longer do I have? Right? And a good quest is probably not going to have you saying that, right? A good quest is, man, I can't wait to see what happens next.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so, like, I think that, yes, there's definitely still something lacking in the BDO quest department in terms of emotional support. But, like, yeah, go, Jay.
I was going to say, I noticed there was a lot of, like, filler quests where these NPCs are asking me to make them a sandwich or some other rice dish or like guk bap or whatever, just so I can progress the story, and that was a little bit annoying.
Yeah, I was raging about that too.
I didn't understand why me making a sandwich for them is part of like why you're having issues with the world or something.
You know what I said every time they would ask me to make them a sandwich or get them some boar meat or whatever? I was like, I am the literal savior of a continent, all right? Like, stop making me go get your fucking boar meat. Like, go over there and get it yourself.
Freaking Dulce was also egging them on, right? The kid would be like, oh, I need some rice dish for my mom. And then, oh, it's like, don't worry, my traveler here is going to take care of that. And I'm like, what the heck, Dulce?
Dulce's no, like, get back in the kitchen. I'm like, what? I know. What are you doing? What are you doing to me? Like, yeah, like, oh my God, the county's under attack by tigers. By the way, do you know how to make this rice dish? Can you, like, you know what I mean? Like, the pigs are threatening our livelihood. But more importantly, have we fed the prisoners?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Yeah, like, there's too much menial, like quests. Little,
they could have definitely reduced the number of quests that you needed to do by just taking out the completely pointless quests. Like, there was some that was just, I was like, why am I doing this? And there was some, you know what? One of their big problems one of the biggest problems I had with this expansion, there were many times when I would start a tale and the first words out of my mouth after like 2 or 3 dialogues with different NPCs at the very beginning was, who are you? Why am I talking to you? Go away. And then I would get into like the actual like good characters, like the intro characters are annoying as crap. But then you get into like the bulk of it and you find the actual main character of that tale. And then it's like, oh, okay, now it's good. But like the first like 4 or 5 quests of like every single tale, I was like, stop talking to me. Like, I just want to go meet the actual important person and deal with them for the remainder of this. Like, go away.
Right.
Yeah.
I will say that again, if we're comparing it to other genres of MMO, that BDO's bosses in its main storyline have been god awful. In previous quest lines, I mean, like Red Nose and stuff. The way that those are designed and introduced, and you're like basically one skilling them when you get it. Doesn't like this is a boss. Like I one shot it like every other goblin that's sitting in this field. You know, like it's just those felt miserable. But the bosses in this expansion actually felt really meaningful, like fleshed out. They felt good, and obviously the reason for that is the boss blitz, which we're gonna get to next. But like I liked how like those bosses tied into the boss blitz later, so that like okay, you've seen these bosses again, okay, you're a little familiar with it, right? And you can fight them again on much higher difficulty and stuff. But like they felt very fleshed out with mechanics, and then like the storyline led up to them, and it just felt good. Like the bosses in general felt way better than most of the other random bosses that we see in the BDO storyline throughout, like Medaya, Valencia, even like the new expansions. I don't know, all of those bosses just seem, I don't know, empty. But looking over towards the boss blitz stuff, what do you guys feel about? How do you guys feel about how the boss blitz so far? I assume that you guys have done it at least once.
Yes.
So Jay, do you want to go first? You want me to go first? Because we were having some times last night. Jay was doing Calamity 7 Gumiho, and I ended my stream and popped into his stream after doing Calamity 6 Gumiho. So we just spent the next 2 hours watching me watching him and giving him pointers on how to beat Gumiho. So I love it. I'm absolutely like, I feel like this is one of the biggest things that BDO has been missing is like this high end, like really good boss content. And I'm loving it. Sangoon is a bitch though. Fuck that.
That's my favorite boss. That's
no, Jay.
Yeah, I love
no.
Sangoon. You know why I love him so much? Okay, I love the Monster Hunter series from Capcom, and he felt very Monster Hunter-esque. And I wouldn't be surprised if they took some inspiration for the bosses from the Monster Hunter series. And that's, dude, Sangoon was such a good fight.
Dude, Monster Hunter is like I'm a biology teacher, man. Monster Hunter, just how just how the animals interact with each other in their environment and stuff is just so cool. But yes, Jay, I agree. Sangoon gives those vibes, and that's why I like him so much.
Probably why I hated him, because I've never played a Monster Hunter game, so.
Yeah,
he was just pissing me off. The one-shot mechanic that is on almost every attack that he was doing was it also probably doesn't help that I was doing Calamity 5 for the last orb while fighting Sangoon, so I didn't have like a full damage loadout or DP loadout. But he took me a long time on Calamity 5, and I just was raging the entire time I was doing it.
Dude,
actually did Sangoon blind, which means like, you know, I didn't look up any guys, and it was super fun, like just learning the mechanics and progressing. And then when you defeat it, it's so I think the mechanics are really well done, especially like the puzzle mechanics with like for example like Songakshi, where you had to decipher which crying woman was the real one, because there's like a bunch of clones, and it's a spoiler, it's the one crying with blood, so you gotta look carefully. And then same thing with Gumiho. Gumiho had this sort of puzzle mechanic where you had to carefully look at her necklace, because her necklace had different colors. And then, you know, those mechanics really rewarded players for paying attention and keeping track of the
attention to detail, things that weren't just called out, not just red circles on the ground, but like an actual mechanic of like
a visual mechanic.
It was so good. Gumiho is by far my favorite boss I've done so far.
Yeah.
I still have got some other ones that I need to do, but I'm so locked into just trying to be Gumiho that I just honestly I don't even care anymore. I'm just like I'm not stopping until it's done. Like I'm gonna do it. So
one thing that did feel a little bit unfair for some of the bosses, but that could also just be a Calamity 7 issue, was that some of the DPS checks in some of the bosses were combined with like an RNG mechanic, such as like iframing. So a good example is Songakshi. Songakshi has this one-shot mechanic later on at the end of the phase. But if you don't DPS her high enough, you know, she kills you. But she has a lot of attacks where she stays in iframe. And that same thing happens in Gumiho. Like one of her phases, you have to DPS her down before the room fills up with fire. And Gumiho has a lot of iframe attacks, and if you just get unlucky with a string of iframe attacks, the room just fills up with fire, and then you're just screwed. So
Yep.
I don't know if that was intentional, and at least for me, like my sort of like self-explanation, self-critical thinking explanation for why they did it this way is because they want the 7 calamity bosses to be challenging for how many light orbs we do currently have. So if you noticed, we have 6 orbs, right? We have 6 total light orbs, 1 base, and then 5 that you insert, right? And that makes you comfortably beat Calamity 6 very fairly, right? So those DPS checks don't matter. And so we're fighting Calamity 7, and then so we have like 1 less light orb, and so we're trying to challenge this difficulty that we don't have enough stats for those players who want to challenge themselves, you know. So it makes it, you know, that the players, for those who want to clear Calamity 7 with the current light orbs, will always have like a spot for loot. So maybe that's why they did it. So I don't know if that is the reason, but it's the only reason I can think of for why they made it so challenging that way.
Yeah.
So I butchered a pig 5 times. And then by the end of it, I was like, I'm happy they killed your wife. I hate you. I was so miserable by the Calamity 5 with like, I only had, I didn't have all my orbs yet. It was just so, it's really hard. And then I got to the end, I did all 5 and I just one and done them. Boom, 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 until Calamity 5 took me like 5 or 6 attempts. And, oh man, my guild was in comms for it. And the memes that they make to this day, they're gonna be legendary. Just stay in the circle, Blue. And I got so mad because he would go to the edge of the zone, and that effectively makes the circle like a quarter
like
as big as it's supposed to be. You would say half as much, but then there's all this terrain and stuff, and he's in like this perfect spot. So like I can only stand in this pie wedge of the circle. And I'm getting turboed, and I hop out and I get one shot, and I'm like, Blue, you have to stay in the circle, and I just lost it. Oh, Jesus help me, I just lost it. I mean, there were a few times I got so mad. But I will say that this is content that I think that they actually designed very, very well. This is, as Tiltus said, this is something that they have been missing in the game, is competitive PvE content like this is really good. But I also want to point out that the same reason that Tiltus was like, and I'm done. I'm just going to keep doing it. I'll do it again. He's like the goofy me, that is why do it again. That is why it is weekly gated. Is because the developers, I am sure, were like, all right, they're going to get way too invested in this. And then they're never going to play anything else. They're going to burn out and they're going to quit the game just based on this. I mean, how many hours have you spent on Gumiho, Tiltus?
I've spent 4 or 5 hours on her. I spent about 2.5 on Calamity 7. And then I've spent probably maybe not quite that, maybe about 4 hours, and spent about 1.5 hours of her on Calamity 6 trying to learn the very detailed mechanics of that boss, so that when I go to Calamity 7, I have a better time with it.
Okay, so 5 hours is a reasonable estimate, right, for one boss?
Yeah.
Okay, there's 9.
I think it depends on some of the bosses. Some of the bosses are way easier.
Yeah. Gumiho is
Gumiho
the hardest boss.
But even still, I'm taking like an average. You're talking, if you let people do this as like a full-time thing, and believe me when I say full-time, 9 times 5 is 45 hours a week.
It was over 2 days.
I mean, once you do learn the mechanics, it goes by a lot faster.
Well then, okay, let's do 2 hours then. Jay, you're absolutely right. Okay, so we learn the mechanics.
Well, what if you want, when you're God Gamer, you one-shot it, it's like a 10-minute fight.
No. Let's do it Jay's way. All 9 bosses, 2 hours per boss, all the calamity levels, 2 hours per boss, you're speed running, 18 hours.
Well, you can only fight 5 bosses a week.
That's why though. That's my point though. Is if that was gone, you'd have to do it all. You would be doing all of it all the time, right? And so
but that's not going to stop me from going for the leaderboard. I'm not quitting.
You might not gonna happen to beating the leaderboard as well. Yeah.
For one boss though, basically.
Yeah, for one boss.
Or for one calamity level on one boss, right? And that is reasonable. And so in this way, I actually like that they weekly gated it. Just because otherwise, dude, the world, I would just look around Heidel. Where all my homies at, bro? They're all fighting the new bosses. Now I will say that okay, so are there anything we don't like about this new boss thing?
I mean, I explained it before, was the DPS checks with the iframe RNGs.
Okay, yeah, but
that was
Right.
that felt a little bit unfair. But other than that,
Tiltus?
not really.
The worst part for me has just been the like insta kill mechanics. I'm not a big fan of like just you fucked up so you're dead mechanics.
Really, I like those.
I
like bad at the game, right? I like those.
Agreed.
I mean, it teaches you how to be good at the game.
I like if bosses have like a handful of them, which is probably the reason why I hated Sangun so much, was because every attack that Sangun did was one-shotting me at Calamity 5 with 4 orbs. It was driving me insane trying to do it. So that's probably why I hated that boss so much, just because I like there being like, I mean, Jay, how many times did you get barrel rolled last night?
Did you
and you didn't die
turn on the sounds? So. Did you turn on the sounds? Because Sangun like roars before he attacks you.
Yeah, of course.
I like those audio mechanics.
Yeah, I'm also a big fan of audio cues as well. And I just also DK forward guard is not the most reliable thing on the fucking planet. There were a lot of times I was just getting straight hit through my forward guard on DK, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, this is where we're at. I got you. So I like there being like that's probably why I like Gumiho so much, is because she does have one-shot mechanics that will just straight nuke you. There's no saving grace on them. You will just die to her. But she has other attacks that just won't straight one-shot you and allow you to react to them. So that's probably why I hated Sangun so much. I could not stand getting one shot over and over and over again.
Well, I mean, I can't believe you guys haven't said it, but I actually don't like how the rewards are given out. I think the rewards are miserable. I think they're good, but like, dude, how am I supposed to get my Deboraka earrings, dude? I need like 200 of them to make a pen Debo earring. Everyone is gonna need them. How am I only have like 4 chances a week? You want me to put orders on the marketplace? Like, I don't know. I don't feel like the way that they've introduced the rewards for some of this stuff is actually feasible. Like at all. But we
also get like first time rewards too.
Okay, yeah, one time. Woo! You know what I got for those rewards? Oh my goodness. Oh wow, that's crazy.
Well, yeah, but the reward bundle goes up as you do higher levels.
Absolutely right. I was rank 1 on like 4 of my 5 things. You know what I got?
No. I mean the first time rewards that you get from doing the boss.
Yeah,
when the reward bundle is the adventure journal. That reward bundle is better the higher calamity you go. So if you clear a calamity 7,
it's always
boss,
a rank 1.
Yeah. If you clear if you clear a calamity 7 boss, you get the rank 1 reward for it the very first time you clear. So like there's
the first time clear word.
Yeah. So there's like you get more than just the one weekly at the beginning. Now, yes, you're 100% right. As it goes on and people start clearing those every week, and people aren't getting their first time rewards and stuff like that, 110% you are correct. It's going to be miserable. Right now, I don't think it's quite as bad because you have first time rewards for everything.
Okay, yeah, I know. It's not enough. It's not enough. You don't get enough reward. Like, there's like the crystals will eventually populate on the marketplace, but something like the Deboraka earring, I feel like this was ill-conceived. This was super ill-conceived. There's never going to be enough supply to meet the demand. The earring is effectively just not obtainable. Like, it's like the Deboraka necklace, when it first came out, was extremely hard to get because the grind zone was almost impossible for anyone to grind, okay? But then over time, it became a little bit more obtainable, and then as supply has kind of risen over time, and it's still very difficult to get, but at least I feel like it can go out and spend 300 hours to try to go get it, right? I can't do I'm helpless. I'll never obtain it. It could be years before I get a Deboraka earring. Jay, as an in-game player, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, it definitely feels like it's going to be really hard to get a Deboraka. I keep saying Deboraka because you keep saying Deboraka. It's Deboraka. How come do you actually not know it's pronounced Deboraka? Oh,
I'm saying it. Say it with me. Deboraka.
Okay, anyways.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Actually, I had an idea of how they could sort of change up the rewards where you would want to challenge the bosses to give you that specific loot. So for example, if you wanted the Bonghuang's tier, right, the Phoenix tiers, you would challenge the Sun Aura bosses and you would have more of a chance to get those tiers. And then for the Earth Auras bosses, you get more higher chance or to get the, the Kieran's tiers. And then I'm assuming if they should decide to add more bosses, and I'm pretty sure they're going to add more bosses because I saw this giant snake in the trailer that we don't seem to have yet. So I was thinking they could make those bosses. Yeah, they can make those bosses a higher chance to get the Deboreka earring. So if you wanted to sort of target that loot, right, this would allow players to tailor what kind of loot they want to receive by challenging those specific bosses.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
It's not a bad idea at all. Yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot. Tiltus, do you have any ideas for it? I mean, like, Tiltus, do you feel like it's fine the way that it sounded like you thought it was okay, and that's okay to have a wrong opinion like that.
Like I said, I think it's okay right now because there are the first time clear rewards. Now, 100%, you talk about longevity, it's gonna be miserable. It's gonna be so difficult to get. Right now, you're getting, I mean, if you clear a Calamity 6, you're getting a Calamity 6 rank 1 reward bundle, which is, I mean, that's pretty substantial. So right now, it's not as bad. Longevity, like, it's going to be pretty bad as things go on to try to get those. I'm not at the point yet where I care about the Deboreka earrings, so I'm a little biased in that regard because, sometimes it's nice to be a gearlet guy. Sometimes you just fight the boss because it's fun and you don't really care about the reward.
I do think they are, sorry, can I interrupt?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I do think they are making steps to improve the Deboreka situation because in Korea, it was so terrible that they actually added a pity piece to the Deboreka earrings. If you didn't know, they're called Tears of Illusion. And then when you get 20 of the pity pieces, you can make a Deboreka earring. So you have more chances, but they are willing to make changes to improve the loot. So hopefully, I don't know if the pity pieces for the Deboreka earrings will be enough to supply the Deboreka earring market, but we'll see.
Yeah. That definitely is going to make it significantly better. I imagine that's probably not far away from us then, because I think we really sweat over our gear score in NA. So
oh my gosh, do we sweat? Oh man, the number bigger good. Jay, what's your gear score right off the top of your head? Go ahead.
Who?
Jay, what's your gear score number?
760.
Says at the beginning of every podcast.
I gotta update you guys.
Amen, brother. Amen. You already have the whaling gloves, I assume.
I do, yeah. It took me 71 attempts. It was pretty bad, but luckily I was prepared.
Luckily, I already had 100 billion liquid, he says. Like, see, every time, bam, slaying it
more
on
like
the
300
table.
bill liquid.
Just a drop in the bucket. It was fine, bro. What?
That's my favorite part of Jay's titles for the last couple of days has been 1 out of 71 Tet Dawns. And it makes me laugh every time I look at it. I'm like, that's rough, buddy. See, like I said, sometimes it's nice to be a gearlet. Like,
actually,
Jay's out here 1 out of 71 for his Dawns, and I'm just like, I'm chilling, man. I got time.
I think Biseptimus had on his chest, he was like 1 out of 74. So it wasn't as bad as Biseptimus's Fallen God chest.
Just tap it, forehead.
Just tap it.
Just succeed.
Hey, at least he's making money while he's failing, bro. Because thousands of people are laughing at him. It makes you feel better. I would know. No, it doesn't. It makes it worse. It makes it so much worse. Okay. All right. So I do want to talk a little bit about the wonderful, super giga amazing adventure journals that they came out with in this expansion. And before I express my opinion at the opportunity, my therapist said we should call things that we don't want to do opportunities. The opportunity to do this journal. What did you guys feel about the journal? Jay, how'd you feel about doing the adventure log?
I don't know how I feel about them locking all these like amazing stats behind a scavenger hunt. It's not definitely not. Oh, I've heard a lot of comments and concerns from my friends who just take a hit in their stats because they just don't want to do the scavenger or like the boring stuff of the adventure journal. So they don't even have like Pavino Greco's done, because Pavino Greco has you like travel across the world, right, to the like underwater stuff and all that other stuff, but it's 600 HP, and they just don't want to get that 600 HP because they don't want to do the the traveling and all that stuff. So I don't mind it. It definitely incentivizes players to, experience the land, explore the land, right? But I don't know if that was the best way of doing it.
Okay, Tiltus, how do you feel about the new adventure journal?
I absolutely fucking hate adventure journals. I've always hated them. I think they were a horrible conception from the very beginning.
I knew we were all friends.
I've watched plenty of people struggle to do this one, and I'm literally sitting here going, yeah, it's gonna be like one of the very last things I do. I'm gonna wait on that one for a while. I got plenty of gear score I can get from other places that I'm like not even worried about it. I'm like, I'll take those hours I'd be doing getting that and just go grind for gear. Like, dude, I hate journals. I still have a couple that are undone that I'm currently in the process of working on. I hate them.
At the start, I hate them so much. Yeah, at the start of the adventure log this time, I felt like Anakin on Naboo with Padme. And then by the end of it, I was Anakin on the slopes. I hate you! I hate this content! I'm looking up at the developers. It was miserable. Oh my gosh, that has got to be the worst designed content I have ever done in BDO, and I've done some bad stuff. Adventure journals. Okay, so let's talk about why we all hated it so much. So let's unpack it a little bit. What are adventure journals' purpose? Right, personally, to me, adventure journals. It's an adventure journal, right? It's meant to force you to explore aspects of the world or aspects of the game that you wouldn't have otherwise experienced, right? That's my definition of it. Jay, do you have another definition, or would you like to add to it at all? Like, what do you feel like the purpose of an adventure log journal should be?
No, I think you hit the nail on the coffin. What is it?
The dead content head. That's right. The coffin. You nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiltus, do you think that you want to add to that?
No, I mean, you pretty much got it. It's to help us plug into the systems that are not used often. Knowledge is the thing that pops into my mind. The vistas is another thing. Do you guys remember doing the vistas for Pavino Greco, where it was like, all right, you got to run around all of like the world, and you've got to click on these little viewpoints, and it'll take you into this nice little cinematic, and it'll show you, the area around you. Nobody has ever done that for fun, except for maybe like one or two people in the history of BDO until Pavino Greco came out. So like, it's 110%. The purpose is to get us to plug into systems that are existing in the game that no player in their right mind cares about.
Well, but some do, right? And this leads into my next thought is that adventure journals should not have critical stats involved in them. It should be extra stuff. Okay, adventure journals are exactly that. It's an adventure. So at the end of the adventure journal, you get this whole new outfit for your character. You get more contribution. You get more energy. You get a specific dye color that no one else in the game can have, or you get the tiger mask.
Cosmetic, basically.
Like that they're handing away on the pro shop, right? Cosmetic stuff or extra stuff added to the account, and that is a reward for being an adventurer, right? For going out and exploring the world and doing the content that maybe other people don't want to enjoy. The problem with this is that the developers are starting, and they have been using the adventure journals to force all players to do the content that they have never done before, in the hopes that they will enjoy that content when they discover it for the first time.
Yep.
That is what it has become, right? Like, we're going to force you to go around and find the adventure points during Pavino Greco. And hopefully you will enjoy doing it. We're going to force you to get all knowledge on all of the animals in Medaya to show you how the knowledge system works, so that you can try to unlock more of this, right? All this really does is it gets players to hate it even more. By the end of the Bartali log, I hate blue crabs. My triggerers are blue and crab right next to each other. Like, I did not like the fact that they're forcing us. I've never liked that. Like, stop attaching core stuff. Like, give us 20 contribution for finishing the adventure log. Is it essential? Absolutely not. Is it great? Give us 20 contribution and like an artisan worker in each town or whatever. You know what I mean? Just like they did at the end of this one. But like, don't gate the HP, the stamina, the AP, you know, like the DP, all this stuff at the end of an adventure log that feel like the problem is their entire approach to the game is we don't want to force players to do anything. Well, that's exactly what you're doing. You are forcing all of us to go through this horribly designed scavenger hunt where you had an intern, I swear to God, scrolling around the kingdom of Haso just dropping chests. He was just dropping them in. You think that's not how it works? I almost guarantee they just went, put one there. Now, okay, throwing we don't have enough over here. You know, like they were just throwing them down. They were just throwing it around. Look, the scavenger hunt, I think that they thought to themselves, adventure journal. They can go on a scavenger hunt. Like, I know that's how this started, and then it never stopped. It got out of control, and no one at the developer table had the thought process to stop and say, wait, I think we should stop it. I think we should stop at 20 chests. And no, then the next guy, no, 40's fine. Then the next guy, no. Nothing, not a chest over 80 chests. Not a chest over 80 chests. And then somebody said, stop. What if we had 140 chests and we gated it, but we gated all of their stats and fun behind all 140 chests? That's it. Patch it. Send it out. Like, I don't understand how this got through development. Like, this was a good idea. A scavenger hunt was a good idea in premise. Make us go on maybe 12 chests, right? We're talking one book, 120 chests. It's like the start of a bad porno. Like, it's actually the most ridiculous. It's like the most ridiculous quest line I have ever seen. I got to the end of it and I was like, that was book 5? What? Well, what's in book 6? So I turned the page over. It was like I was experiencing Vietnam. I turned the page over and it's discovered the Dokebi chest, and I actually almost lost it. My monitor almost broke. Like, oh my goodness. I mean, how did you guys feel while you were doing the like, do you guys feel like they should gate their like these DP AP behind the adventure journals?
Definitely not.
We'll do Tiltus further. We'll go to Jay.
Okay.
So here's the way I think it would be better suited. So gate the core stats behind the main quest and make it family wide. So have the player go hit O, click on the main quests, look in the main quests, and each one of those, instead of getting 10 contribution XP, it's like, oh, here's a permanent 10 HP for your family. And you just go through, and that's the main quest. It's very linear. It's very straightforward. Every player should probably, in theory, do the main quest at least once. It is part of the actual game. That's what most of the development is based around, is the zones and the NPCs and all that kind of stuff. And then the adventure logs could be purely everything else. You want energy attached to it? Boom, here you go. Here's a good way to get energy. Ecology. Boom, there you go. Now you're knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone. You want contribution? Okay, well, make us go on some like weird quest lines that give a ton of contribution XP for that. You want us to go view the vistas? Give us something like cool for the vistas. Give us I don't know, I was going to say a picture in our house of the vista, but nobody does the house content in this game, to be honest. I'm doing a mansion soon, though, because that shit looks lit. But, like, there's so many other options. Dyes are a great option, if you complete all of the, Serendia, ecology, grind or whatever, you get a dye, you get a special Serendia dye that, is restricted only to players that have that. But the problem with that is we have Merv's palette. So they're like, we're already making you pay for the, we're already making you pay for the dye. So we're not going to do that. But yeah, I 100% agree. There's like so many better options in the way they do it. I hate core stats being locked behind the adventure journals. It irritates me because I don't want to go around the desert for a year and a half and find all the nodes in the desert. I still have not done that book of Bartali's because I got my AP and I said, I'm not doing this, and I haven't done it since because that's like what, book 15? It's like the last book.
Right. No,
So-
like I mean, at first it was like the adventure logs when they first came out, gating them, like we all, and it's our own fault as players because when Bartali's came out, we were like, oh my god, we can hit 269 Kudum if we do our Bartali log. You know what I mean? Like it's like 7 hours and I don't have to get my Ted Ogre. This is brilliant. And we thought it was great. We patted him on the back, said, great job, Jay. Good design. And now everything is like this, and this needs to stop. So like, I really do feel like that gating this stuff, and honestly, adventure logs. Okay, this is gonna be a bit of a shift. Adventure logs, no more of those. We're done with those. Remove those as a concept, and instead, add like Easter eggs to the game. And I don't mean the literal like bunny hopping around. Okay,
You want some Flondor golden eggs, bro?
I mean, for example, Destiny 2 did this really well in the Forsaken expansion, but not very well after the Forsaken expansion. So I mean, like while you're in the middle of the boss rush, say you're fighting in the middle of Sangoon, something happens in the background and it looks like just falling debris or whatever. But if you take the time and you go investigate it, there's actually something you can interact with over there. And it gives you some sort of knowledge, which triggers some sort of quest that you can go do for some sort of cosmetic in the game, right? And you are rewarded. That is not required. The developers don't talk about it at all. They don't tease it. It's just something that if as adventurers stumble onto it, it's just an extra thing, right? And it kind of plays back into their old philosophy is we're just not going to tell anybody anything. Like we're not going to show them the accuracy. We're not going to show them the stats. We're not going to show them the enhancement rates, all that stuff. So it lets them do what they want to do, which is not tell us anything. And it also doesn't gate this stuff behind ridiculous amounts of work, right? So like you could get like, let's say Witch does really well at a particular boss and the developers know it. It happens to tie into the Witch's lore. Let's say, you know, I'll use Wusa as an example. So Wusa is fighting Songachi, right? And in the background of Songachi, there's something that the Wusa can interact with or see or touch or attack or in some way interact with that gives the Wusa a very cool looking weapon skin for her fan, but only Wusa, right? Like that would be super sick. Or it initiated a super secret quest line that you could do that gave you something. I don't know, like 50 contribution or some crazy shit. Maybe not 50 contribution, but like, you know, 5 contribution, something like a nugget. I call them nuggets. Other people call them Easter eggs, things like that. The adventure journals have become the developers' way of forcing us to do content that we've never explored before in the hopes that we will enjoy that content. And it's just the opposite. We just hate it even more. It just completely reinforces why we hate the content so much.
Do y'all know anybody that actually unironically enjoys the adventure logs that like looks forward to it?
Well, I actually enjoyed them to a point, but then like I said, like I only really enjoyed Bartali's and stuff because it was like, oh my god, I can hit this new bracket. All I have to do is this 7-hour journal, and now it's like, oh my god, I have to do a 9-hour journal to do my 1 DP. Like this is getting old. We can't do this anymore.
We have the exact thing that we want. You remember at the end of Bartali's how you get the different skin for your black spirit?
There you go. Yeah.
You just start handing those out at the end of like that's sick. I love that.
Right.
That's good. That's good content right there because that's something that's like unique to you, right? Like you don't see other players' black spirits floating around. But I do want the Wuju skin like ASAP. Give it to me, please.
Chat. I enjoyed it like a nice rich cheesecake, but holy crap, after 2 pieces, I just want to throw up. Exactly like that. Exact. That was literally perfect. It was literally a perfect analogy.
That was great.
I know it was. All right, so pivoting off the adventure journals a little bit and back over to the blitz, the boss blitz. We didn't talk about this. The light orbs for the boss mechanic. Do you guys feel like that's a good design? Do you feel like the bosses are really well designed? I mean, you have like the 90%, like your gear doesn't matter basically at all. It's like 90% of it isn't based on gear. It's based on these light orbs. Do you guys like the way that these bosses have been designed around these light orbs, or would you rather have my gear needs to matter? Would you rather have that? Jay, let's start with you.
So as for whether gear still matters or not, I was like really skeptical of the system at first, but after like doing it myself and understanding like why this was the case, like trying to like critically think, why did the developers do this? And it made so much sense now that I did the boss splits, and then I looked at the rankings. And when you pay attention to the rankings, there's people that are defeating the bosses like within seconds of each other. And so you might not think that 10% gear matters. It does matter. That 10% gear could be the difference between whether you reach top 1 or top 5 or top 20. So I think this is what they were truly intending when they created this system. So I do think it does matter.
Okay. And but you like how it's designed though? Yeah, like,
I
do you think that it should be weighted differently?
I was skeptical at first, but yeah, like after doing it, after doing it, I understand like this is what they were going for, and I thought that was actually pretty genius, to be honest. Especially with considering like the rankings and stuff when people are beating with each other with like seconds. So
okay. So Tiltus?
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off that. So we're talking, Jay and I are talking about, I'm doing Calamity 6 Gumiho. He's been doing Calamity 7 Gumiho. And I'll be honest, Jay's got 100 gear score on me. I don't think there is a way that I can finish the DPS check for Calamity 7 Gumiho without having close to Jay's gear, or at least close to his AP, if nothing else. Because that at that point, that's where that 10% matters. I think the goal, and I think they did it really well, I think the goal is for every player to be able to complete up to Calamity 5, regardless of gear. And then I think as you start moving up the ranks, you start going to 6, you start going to 7, when eventually 8, 9, and 10 come out, that's when that 10% of gear, you're going to see it all of a sudden pop up, and you're going to be like, oh, I need the gear. I need the 10% to be able to finish this. So then you're sitting there going, okay, now I've got to go grind for gear. Okay, I got to stop my boss blitz now. Like, because if you're a competitive player and you want to do that content, like I do, because I can't gas it up enough. I love it. Watching Jay do Calamity 7 last night, and when he got to phase 3 of Gumiho, I was like, I don't think I can do this. Like, if Jay is struggling to clear it, at the DPS check with 100 gear on me, yeah, it's like, I might not be able to do Calamity 7 Gumiho. So I'm definitely going to try anyways, because I'm stubborn. But, so I think it's I honestly think they hit the nail on the head. I think it's the perfect balance of, your gear doesn't matter through Calamity 5, post Calamity 5. Okay, now the 10% really comes in. And it's still hard. I think that's the other thing too, is they didn't want to make the gear make the bosses at the upper end easy. Because imagine like, technically you have more gear with the light orbs in a lot of situations than you would otherwise. I mean, with the 5 light orbs right now, we have 318 AP and 600 DP. Plus your 10% on top of that. So, and that's with all the attack orbs, by the way. I didn't put any.
The DPS checks are very tight. Like they're super tight. Just like
you're talking about seconds, like 1 or 2 seconds on those DPS checks. So I think they nailed it. I'm gonna keep it honest. Like, gear matters, but it matters in the most competitive way, which in my mind, if you have 760 gear score, you are trying to be competitive at something, right? And Jay's got the perfect avenue of PvE to be super competitive with all that gear that he's stacked up now, because the dude plays Shy and Node War, so
I really want them to add percentages to the freaking boss HP, because I think that would make it a lot more like epic. Oh,
like
I
a
guess,
percentage number.
Yeah.
That would be super helpful.
I like the way they did the boss. I like the orbs, like the ratio and stuff. I just really don't like how they did the rewards, man. Bundling the rewards to a 1 time a week, and then expecting every single player in BDO at some point is going to need a pen depot. Or like even if they don't, let's say only 30 or 40% of the player base needs it. All those people need like 200 Devo earrings. Like, and they get like 4 chances a week.
Yeah.
The rewards need to be fixed, but actually I think that's a pretty easy fix. I think the damage overall, I think the orbs, great, perfect. Again, I love the way they designed it. I think the UI menu, even down to the UI menu, and that's something we take for granted. The UI menu looks fantastic, right? Like I think it looks great. I don't like that it's like this swirling ball on the top of my screen. I really don't like that. The little triangle looking thing, not a fan.
My other complaint about the UI is if I am doing Calamity 6 Gumiho and I die, please do not make me select Gumiho Calamity 6 again after I die. Please just let that stay there.
Retry.
Yeah, like I hate that so much. Every time I die, I'm like, okay, let's fucking click the orb. Okay, now let's click on Gumiho. Now let's make sure we have Calamity 6. I almost cleared Calamity 1 Sungoon because I clicked on Sungoon, but I did not hit Calamity 5, and I was about to lose it. When I figured it out, I was like, why am I doing so much damage? I literally almost one-shot the boss, and I was like, hold up a second. What's happening here?
It's true. Yeah.
In terms of the loot for the weekly, Blue, is your only concern the Deboraka earrings? Because perhaps maybe just adding more alternative ways to get the Deboraka earrings is the solution. Like if everything else is fine, like the legendary crystals and whatnot, and Deboraka earrings is the only.
I think the crystals probably need to be juiced up too, because everybody wants the crystals. Really? Oh. I mean, have you guys gotten the new crystals at all? You guys been able to get them?
I actually have. Yeah, I actually got boosted with my bundle, my first time clear bundle, and I got the Kieran's crystal. So
okay, buddy.
You got the legendary Kieran's crystal.
Well,
whole thing?
There's 3 tiers. There's the fragment, crystal, and then there's the tier, right? And I have the crystal, which is the tier 2.
Okay.
Oh wow, you got Giga carried. Wait,
dude, I thought he got a tier, and
you can only get the tier from Calamity 8 and higher, but we don't have that unlocked yet.
Okay.
So 47 is the crystal, 1 to 4 is the fragment.
Okay.
I got Giran's fragment. I got 2 Giran's fragments, but I have not gotten anything else. And I got those out of my first time clear boxes, not out of my rank 1 clear box.
You can upgrade them up. You can turn.
Yeah, I know, but it's still gonna take. It's gonna take forever, and then I'm gonna die to one mob, and then I'm gonna lose it, and then I'm gonna take. So again, you see the problem here. Every player in the game needs these crystals. It doesn't matter who you are. You need at least one of them. Right? Like it doesn't matter.
I do have a tip for viewers who don't know this, but you actually have there's a policy where you can recover 2 crystals per year. If for any specific reason at all, you just simply send a ticket for the category of let's just say like missing items or something. Yeah, you make sure you wait for the reply and then keep checking, and then when they do reply, just confirm with that reply, and then you should receive it in your mailbox after. So that's something, like if you do lose your tier 3 legendary crystal, do that. That's my tip for you viewers.
Okay. But yeah, no, the rewards I think needs to be adjusted, and I really don't like, dude, I don't know why they keep making these like swirling effects on our screen, like the bouncing die. Is so obnoxious. I hate that. Do you guys hate this? I hate this stuff. I don't like being interrupted in my gameplay. I get upset every time. Like there. Hold on. Every single time. What else in this UI? He's constantly bugging me.
Yeah. So I actually.
Do you feel it? A dark rift is torn open. Get out!
Yeah, like when you're running out of your value pack or your camisole, there's that little pop-up.
So when I was doing all of Land of Morning Light, I actually specifically made a new UI preset where I turned almost everything off except for the quest widgets in my guild chat. And I had the mini map, but everything else was turned off, and cooldown slots, but that's kind of, you need those. Specifically so that I got a nice immersive experience while I was going through the quest, because I didn't want to be bugged by the 1,000 pop-ups that show up when I'm going through the game. We're turning into Ubisoft over here. Like, relax. I don't need a constant but I don't need to know what's on sale in the central or on the Pearl Shop every day. Okay.
Yeah, that's obnoxious too. Yeah, every time you log in,
I
get
that you're trying to make your sales, but can we back off a little bit, please?
Yeah, it's getting a little obnoxious. So yeah, I don't like that, but I think when you get to the menu itself, it's incredibly well put together. It's very intuitive. It's easy to click on. I was able to fill it out very quickly, or figure it out very quickly. And it actually looks, it's animated. It makes players want to click on it and try the content out. So I think they did a great job with that. And the content overall, having the different calamity levels, the orbs, all of this was very fleshed out. Though even right down to the boss mechanics and stuff, very fleshed out and well done. Great. One thing I do want to we're gonna pivot over to Jay wanted to talk about this, and I thought it was really funny. Jay, you said you wanted to talk about there hasn't been a new world boss in BDO in forever. What do you guys feel like would be a good new world boss? And I just want to throw out there, Jay, that I personally would like, I don't know, some sort of Korean dragon of some kind. Maybe it's in some sort of lake. Spit some sort of fire, serpentine looking feel. Yeah, dude, we're getting Imoogi in like a week.
Oh yeah, the snake, right?
Yeah. You put this in here, you typed out this whole topic, and you were like, man, what would you guys feel like would be a great new world boss? And all that. I'm like, he doesn't actually know. We're getting Imoogi in like
he doesn't know. He doesn't actually know.
Is that his name, Imoogi?
Imoogi, yeah. As far as I'm aware, I think it's Imoogi. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain it's Imoogi.
Is it a world boss, or was it like a boss blitz boss?
Pretty sure it's a world boss. Right?
We don't know because it's a global release.
Oh, yeah. But that is a good thing, though. That is a good thing, though. I like when they introduced it to me, that I thought that they meant world boss, but like maybe they did just say boss. So and now, is it a boss rush? Is it a dark rift, or is it a world boss?
It's definitely either a
Does
world
anyone
boss or
actually
a boss
know?
Blitz. But I don't think we have any
Could be
confirmation.
both. Yeah. So what do you guys think about it?
A lot of people saying it's a boss blitz.
Yeah, but a lot of people say things that they have no idea.
So
they have no clue,
the,
but they are so confident. There is no information. I read the whole
announcement out. Was it in the?
I've got it right. Hold on, I've got it pulled up.
I was gonna say, was it in the Land of Morning Light dev talk that they did?
No, there's a new. It just says reveals new boss Imoogi. Okay, I'll put it in our chat. Yeah, there you go. Right there, that's what it looks like. And since it's out in the open in the water and stuff, I figure, okay, well, I mean, because see, if it's a boss blitz, it's interesting because they have to add a whole new storyline, right? They have to add like all the other bosses have an attached like book, right? Like, are they going to add a whole new like fable or tale? Is there going to be a whole new village that we've never talked about before? Like, what's the plan here? If it is going to be a boss blitz, like it does show some footage of them fighting the boss, but like, I mean, they always show footage of that, right? They've soloed Zarka when it came out. So like, we're not really sure, what it's going to be, but, let's talk about Imoogi for a second. Does it look cool to you guys? Let's assume it's going to be a boss blitz then. For argument's sake, are you guys excited about it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, more content for us.
Y'all talk for just a second. I'm gonna watch this trailer and see if I can figure it out real quick. Give me just a second.
Okay, good luck, buddy. Yeah, I mean, Jay, like it is new content, but like it's more boss blitz content. Like honestly, I feel like the whole expansion is great. It's really fleshed out and everything. But like I feel like I find myself sitting, Jay, in the new expansion, and I got like nothing to do. You know what I mean? Like I want to go out and do something in the new region, but there's just nothing there. I can't stay and grind like the other regions. So like, do you find yourself lacking, or do you think a new boss is going to help with this?
I do think the majority of the player base would probably want more traditional grind zones. I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends were disappointed that the boss blitz is the only PvE content available in the new region. So actually there was this part in the main storyline that the main character, they were like jokingly suspected of being a spy from the land of the soaring bird, which kind of makes you think that, hey, like the devs are already thinking about perhaps expanding land of, or not land of Morning Light, but the kingdom of Haso by talking about the land of the soaring bird. That seems like a new region. And so if anything, maybe a mixture of traditional grind zones and boss blitz would be a good compromise.
I think Land of the Soaring Bird, and this is my copium. They mentioned it in the storyline, and I was like, and that is a heaping pile of foreshadowing, folks. That I think is probably like that. I'm hoping it's some sort of floating, like island, big like floating continent or something,
like a region in the sky.
Yes, I mean it's a bird. You said Land of the Floating Bird or whatever. I forget what this called.
Soaring bird.
Well,
Soaring bird.
So Land of the Soaring Bird. Yes, it's a floating region. I'm getting Skyward Sword vibes.
Skyward Sword.
Yeah, I'm getting Skyward Sword vibes.
Have you seen a Tears of the Kingdom? Yeah.
Nice. I think that would be really cool. It also means that they have to give us flying mounts. They have to.
Flying mounts.
That would be sick.
You're trying to rope them into something.
So just let it happen.
The teaser for it is literally about maybe 30 frames of the snake roaring, and that's it.
I know, dude. There's nothing, dude. That's why I said good luck, buddy.
Now, here's the only thing about it is it shows all the bosses of Land of the Morning Light, and then it ends on the snake. So that still doesn't tell us anything, because it could literally just be they showed us all the bosses and the new one that's coming, or they show us all the existing boss rush bosses, and then they're like, oh, and the world boss. Boom, here it is. So who knows? Can't figure it out. It literally doesn't show anything. It's about 30 frames. It lasts for not even a full second, I don't think.
And that's what I mean. Like, there's just so little information, and everyone is so confident. It's a boss blitz. It's good. Like, why? Like, nobody has any idea what it actually is. That's the problem.
I'm excited though, because we can sit here and speculate on it, and global release. So
Yeah, global release is always good. Global release is always good. Assuming it is a boss rush, it makes me less excited. I'm gonna be honest.
Here's my problem. There are 9 bosses in the boss rush right now. There are 3 for each aura. If they add a 10th boss and they mess up the perfect balance of 3, 3, and 3, I'm gonna lose it.
That is true. No cap. That is
gonna
actually
make me
true.
so mad. Like, you don't even understand how mad that's actually gonna make me if they do that.
That's actually a good point. And I was kind of hoping that it would be a world boss, just because then we have a world boss in the new region, and it's another chance at like the crystals, Debo earring, all that stuff that we really want, but are gated behind weekly con. So I was kind of hoping it was going to be a world boss, and they haven't come out with one in a while. Now over to Jay. Jay was just Jay. We'll circle back to the potential new region stuff. We'll get there. It's like a whole nest, like the next thing. But as for the world boss content, what would you want to see in a new world boss? Like, what has been working in world bosses in the past, and what doesn't work?
So right now, world bosses are basically like dummies you hit until they died, like loot pinatas, basically, right? And so the question is, do we want another loot pinata, or do we want a world boss that actually has like genuine mechanics that the players have to work together to defeat? And I'm thinking maybe the way they implement this, because console, right, they actually put Garmoth, the world boss, on a guild scroll. So maybe this boss could be summoned through a guild scroll, and your guild has to like do the mechanics to successfully defeat it, basically like a guild raid. So maybe that would be a way to implement this boss.
Yeah, well, what actually I don't like a loot pinata world boss, but like, what do we like about world bosses mechanically? What's your favorite world boss right now? Either of you.
My favorite world boss.
Jay.
Yeah. I have one, but I'm gonna let Jay go first. It's because mine's
I don't really have a favorite world boss, to be honest.
Yeah, and the reason you don't is because they're bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the reason.
I just wait. I hit it once and then just wait for
exactly
my loot, basically.
Right. Tiltus?
So the best world boss, as far as the most enjoyable one to kill, is actually Merca, because there are mechanics based around that world boss where
the giant troll thing?
Yeah, Muraka.
Yes,
sorry, Merca. Yeah.
Like, who?
No, Muraka is I think the most fun, because you have to bring cannons to kill him. Like, you have to sit there and pump cannons into him, and then he staggers, and then he falls down, and that's where the big DPS phase happens. It's like an actual world boss. It's what world bosses were supposed to feel like. The rest of them are just loot pinatas, but like that one actually has a mechanic that used to work. And back in the day when everybody was fiending for that base level ogre ring, that was like the only way to get them. So, you know, like that was actually fun. The rest of the world bosses aren't that enjoyable, and like Garmoth has kind of like his bootleg leftover version of his former self, where, you know, he used to have the totems and all that shit, and then he was, you know, the destroyer of crystals back in the day. And people hated that mechanic so much that they actually just made it, now it's just the cactums and that's it. But yeah, bosses are like, world bosses are fun. Like I miss that is one thing BDO really likes heavily in its world boss category. It's just like some nice, fun, interactive bosses with unique mechanics where we can go do cool stuff like Morocco, where it's like, all right, the guilds better roll up with their cannons, you know, and get their cannons out and start pumping cannonballs into his legs so that he'll fall over, and then we can big DPS him. Because he hurts. Well, back in the day, he hurt really bad. Like if you were in his face when he swung a melee attack, like you were going down. Like that boss did not play around back in the day. So, I wish they would bring it back, like those kind of mechanics.
Yeah, no, I think that world bosses are fundamentally misdesigned in this game. They're just not fun. So I was kind of hoping that if it was going to be a world boss, that there would be some sort of mechanic or something. I actually kind of like the way that field bosses are more designed, because they're definitely smaller and they don't attract the entire server necessarily. And then you can do like chains where you can just swap server to server to kind of bang it out with each other, which is kind of cool. But I think that world bosses as a whole are just kind of fundamentally... and I don't even know, this is one of the first things, I don't even really know what they do to fix this. If you add mechanics, people are going to get bored with it and not want to, like, lazy people aren't going to want to do it. But like, and if it has a one-shot mechanic too, like people aren't going to go on their mains because like they don't want to lose crystals and stuff. It's too valuable to go on your main and do that kind of content. So should they remove crystal like loss from world bosses?
110%. That's like a no-brainer. Should have happened like 5 years ago, like type no-brainer. Like that's the low-hanging fruit. Because if they want to design more interesting bosses, they have to convince people to do them on their mains. Otherwise, you know, like DPS phases on world bosses aren't gonna go well because nobody's gonna bring their main.
I have a crazy idea for world bosses. What if they turned the world bosses into boss blitz bosses, and they had like the same difficulty and mechanics as the current boss blitz, and then that would be something people could challenge as well. So that would be a way to like reuse those bosses in a way.
Oh, so are you saying get rid of them entirely?
Like, well, not get rid of them entirely, but they would just have their own like unique fight. But the current world bosses will still stay there, and they might take a little bit of the mechanics from the boss blitz and then add it to the actual world boss, and that helps you teach players the mechanic for the boss blitz version of Karanda or something, or for Zorga or something. So
you instantly intrigued my mind, and my mind instantly started going like a mile a minute just now, because I'm sitting here going, man, I want a Serendia boss blitz, and then I want a Calpheon boss blitz. Like now I'm lost in the rabbit hole. I'm lost in the sauce over here because you put this idea in my head. I think that would be cool. I think it gives them an opportunity to do these more interactive bosses, while keeping world bosses like kind of the way that they've already kind of decided that they want world bosses to be loop pinatas, because that's essentially what they are right now. So maybe that's an option. I don't know. I can't think of a way to fix the current version of world bosses. The only thing that I can think of is to give us better incentives on more challenging bosses that like are gonna make people want to do that world boss. Like, I mean, when I think of Morocco, like the reason people rolled up with, you know, their entire guild and, you know, like 5 cannons and shot cannonballs at Morocco's legs is because back in the day nobody had base ogre rings. Everybody wanted a base ogre ring because it was the highest, you know, necklace you could get in the game at the time, you know. And so it was a really sought after item, so everybody, you know, rolled up and tried to get it. The game does not. None of the bosses right now, and I mean none of them, have that feeling of, man, I really need to get this. Yeah, exactly.
When people didn't have Zarka weapons or Dandy weapons, they, that was definitely the same feeling before. And I'm not sure if they should add anything else to it. Perhaps maybe like I don't know. You know how like the Nuverkant is from Bloodstorm Nuver? I feel like that would be the best way to go about incentivizing going to world bosses if they add like a unique cosmetic to those world bosses.
Yeah. No, I like the cosmetics. Like I don't know, I just don't really like the loot. I don't know if there's very much that's actually going to make me go to world bosses unless it's fundamental gear upgrades that I absolutely need, and then that's just not a good way to design it at all. Right? Like Garmoth's heart,
that's
for
the
example.
reason we gotta it's the reason we go to Garmoth every single couple of days.
That
It's the
bitch
reason
never
we go to
puts out,
Vel 2
man.
days.
True. She
never gotten one.
Yeah, she is. I've never gotten one either. I've been going for years. And I have 2 Garmoth's hearts, but they were both obtained from the marketplace. Fortunately, when they were relatively obtainable. Okay, all right. That's enough about the world bosses. Again, I don't really have a fix for it either.
Yeah,
and like
that
I was
one's
hoping
a weird one.
Yeah, it's just strange because the servers just can't handle that many people in one place, and like making it mechanically challenging is tough because the lag, to like
and the risk that's associated with it currently.
Right. Yeah, I think that the biggest change that I could say is that you just need to remove you have to remove that crystal loss from world bosses altogether.
Yeah,
but okay,
which the thing is, they already have that little world boss icon whenever you're fighting a boss. The little dragons that pop up on the like little orb you can't ever turn off. It's always there whenever you're fighting a world boss. Like if you have that on your screen, then you're immune from losing crystals. There you go, because you can only get that icon when you're next to a world boss. So I don't know, figure it out. There's got to be an easy fix for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Now, looking ahead, Jay touched on this just a little bit before, but the expansions beyond the Kingdom of Haso are a big... Honestly, we're kind of like preluded to, like foreshadowing during the main storyline, if you were paying attention. Jay, I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on it? Once you flesh it out, and then what are our thoughts on potentially like the upcoming expansions? Because like, would you rather see the rest of the Land of the Morning Light, or would you rather see the Southern Medaya, or the dwarves, or like what, or this new bird place?
Well,
Land of
Land of Morning Light's sort of exclusive content was centered around a solo boss blitz PvE mode, and I was thinking, since Black Desert has started pushing more towards like a deeper narrative, I think a story centered around the Black Spirits and perhaps an overarching story of the Black Desert would be a really cool idea. Like, I'm sure you've done the Camisylvia storyline before, and how like the player has to restore the light of Camisylv, right? Because the tree lost its power and stuff. But why did it lose its power? It's because in BDO history, the Black Spirits invaded Camisylvia and the elves needed power to defend themselves. And the saying, history repeats itself. So let's say history is repeating itself and the Black Spirits are invading maybe another region for some specific reason. And maybe that specific reason may or may not be related to Elezra, So I think a scenario type PvE event. Yeah. So I think maybe a scenario type PvE event content, or essentially a PvE raid against the Black Spirit invasion, would be my idea of a new region's exclusive content.
So
where that will be, though, it's a different question. I don't know which one will be.
So I want Land of the Morning Light 2 before I want any other expansions. And the reason I want Land of the Morning Light 2 before the other expansions is because this one was obviously written with the story in mind. If we get Medaya 2, or if we get Magoria 2, or if we get Valencia 2, they're going to have to redo those stories to at least make me be interested in them. Because right now... 2?
I'm sorry, you said Margoria 2? That's never happened. I need for my own comment. That's just never going to happen for our boat content listeners out there. It's never happening. I've already conceded it. All right, continue. I'm sorry. So sorry, Tiltus. Go ahead.
But like, if they're gonna do Medaya 2, if they're gonna do Valencia 2, like they're gonna have to redo those stories to make them on par and make them interesting to at least to the level that Balnos is. And Balnos is it's not it doesn't hold a flame to Land of the Morning Light or Mountain of Eternal Winter. Like, it's entertaining, you know, it takes you like 4 hours to complete it or whatever. It's not that bad, but if even that, actually, it might even be shorter than that. But I want Land of the Morning Light 2 because I don't want to have to go redo Medaya 1 to catch up on the cutscenes or to catch up on the lore out there, because they're going to change things around to make it fit the new narrative that they're trying to tell. And the Demon Land sounds sick. It sounds so cool. Like, that is by far probably one of the regions I'm most interested in. But I'm not doing Valencia 1 and 2 ever again. I refuse. You cannot make me. Even if you revamp the content with new cutscenes, I'm not doing it. It's not going to happen. I refuse. So give me Land of the Morning Light 2 first, then you can worry about that other stuff. I'm actually invested in that story.
What if, and hear me out, let's say we get Valencia 2 next. They redid the whole Valencia storyline. The whole thing. Start to finish. And they forced you to play through all the Valencia storyline and then into the new, and it played into the new expansion. Like what if they just basically just rewrote history on that, in that regard? I think that's probably the only way that they can go back and kind of retcon. Like,
when was Valencia first released? Like,
a long time ago. 2018, 2017?
17 or 18. Yeah.
Okay, so it released in 2016. Then they got Medaya, so it was probably late. It's either late 17 or early 18. It was out by the time I was playing, so probably late 17.
And then Kama was next, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I like, do you guys feel like they should go, when they go to expand Medaya in Valencia, do you think they should just redo those whole storylines because they're just like, or do you like those storylines for some obscure reason? Okay, good. We can still be friends. Like, bro, that's
what I'm saying.
I'm so sorry.
The storylines.
Yeah. Wrong people have opinions too, but like those storylines are miserably bad. I mean, not even. It's just that you can't even compare it, right? You compare it to Land of the Morning Light.
That's what I was saying. Like how long was it released? And that's probably, you know, why it was not written as well, was because, you know, Land of Morning Light was 2023 and this was 2017, so the writing team was probably not as paid as much, you know.
Yeah, well, it's
that was
not even
definitely
just
the reason.
that. Just their way of storytelling was so bad back then too. Like, even if the stories may potentially be actually
that
good,
wasn't the focus, right? That was the focus back then, right?
Yeah, but still, just like the way they told the stories, like the lengths of what you have to do. Like, do you really want to go dig in the desert again? Who in their right mind?
Put the gun down.
Who
Step away
in their
from
right
the shovel.
mind designed that?
Shovel.
You know what I mean? Like that was like a no-no from the very beginning to make us go dig in the desert 1,001 times.
Dude. There's an old clip of me. It's from one of my very first streams ever. It was before I ever even started streaming. I just happened to be streaming my Valencia 2 playthrough, and I was shoveling, right? And I was for hours. I was shoveling, and I was popping energy pots, and I was at the very end of my rope. No energy pots left. No energy. I mean, thousands of energy spent trying to shovel in the desert. I had a protractor out on the screen trying to line it up with the guide and figure out where exactly the shovel needed to be facing, right? And on the very last energy tick, I got it.
Yep.
And I just lost my. It was the first time I ever lost my mind. Over content and video. And while it was a good memory, I would never wish that on anyone. So like, I think that when it comes out, and I think it's a good opportunity, to be honest with you, I think it would be a great opportunity. I think they should come out with Medaya or Valencia as one of the next expansions, just because it's a good opportunity to go back and rewrite all of the crap that you messed up on the first time, because then new players exploring it can be like, oh, this seems like a congruent story, right? Because right now as a new player, you're going to Land of the Morning Light.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, Jim, go.
No, I was gonna say that's what happened with that one game, Final Fantasy, right? Then they make
A Realm Reborn.
Yeah, that one.
A Realm Reborn is not the original story of fucking the Final Fantasy 14. Not even close.
Really?
They literally like destroyed the whole world. They read it.
I talked about that. Yeah. So it was they butchered the Final Fantasy 14 so badly that the original servers were only live for 6 months. It was that bad. And at the end, you can find there's a clip of somebody that recorded it. At the very end of Final Fantasy 14, the original game, there was giant meteors that came down and nuked the entire server. Everything was gone. And at that point, they turned the servers off. They rebuilt the entire game and re-released it. And that's why it's called Final Fantasy 14: A Realm Reborn, is because it's literally not the original version of Final Fantasy. It's not even close. And that's when they were like, okay, we're actually going to make it good. So revamping the story is totally something they can do. Balanos is actually not that bad. It's not like the most engaging content in the world.
Don't let him have this. It's terrible. The whole
it
thing.
is not that bad.
To finish. You like fighting
to put
Red
it in
Nose?
perspective, to put it in perspective, when I did the stream of going all through Balanos, and like by the time I was at the end, I was like kind of ready to go on to Serendia, and then I got to Serendia and I realized it wasn't voice acted, and I had to sit there and read all the dialogue out myself. I was like, yeah, my desire to do this immediately just plummeted straight to zero, because I was like ready to keep going, and then it was just like, yeah, no, I'm done with this. Like, you can revamp it. I'll come back and do it.
Yeah, but I don't think they can do what the Final Fantasy did. You can't Final Fantasy could just nuke the world and start over and nobody cares. If you nuke the world, I am fairly certain there's going to be a class action lawsuit. Screw the riots in the street. Would be, people would get pissed. Even if you let them have all of their stuff, there's things that people are attached to. I think the only way of redoing this is one region at a time, wipe the old storyline and redo it correctly, a lot like they did the Land of the Morning Light. Because right now, as a new player, you spawn in Land of the Morning Light, amazing, look at this great story, it's nice and fleshed out, looks like this like backstory and stuff, and then you get to like the Calpheon quest line, you're like,
you want me to what?
Like it's like that black guy in the meme. He's so excited in the first picture, and then his smile goes away, and the second he's like, like what happened here? Why is Valencia so terrible?
I'm trying to remember what happened in Calpheon. Wasn't it Jordine?
Calpheon is the Jordine.
No, let me sum it up. Let me sum up all 210 quests for you. Jordine Elezra, done.
So
is that what actually? No,
Jordine Elezra
in Calpheon.
It's not entirely what happens.
Elestra's everywhere, bro. She's just an ethereal being that appears there every time I do something in the game. Like
in Calpheon, there's the whole plague situation, which is kind of what plugs you into Calpheon. It's like one of the first things you do when you get to the city. You have to go figure out the plague. You have to go to Keplen. In Keplen, all the miners are being turned to stone, so you got to figure out the cause of that. And then at some point you link up with Jordine, and Jordine is like, hey, I need your help. Well, it turns out Jordine is actually evil and is using you to amass power so you can turn into the dragon or whatever.
He lit a coup.
Oh my god, bro. Just nuke all of that.
Yeah, that was what I just described was not good. So.
You know the meteor in Star's End? Just throw that onto Calpheon.
Yeah, it hit the wrong expansion. You know what I mean? The meteor hit the wrong part of the continent. Like, I think they really could. They could just nuke all of that and start over again. They could even include Heidel Castle as a brand new area.
Well, that's,
you know what I mean?
That's what I was saying too. Is like that's the reason I want Land of the Morning Light 2 first, is because I'm way more invested in Land of the Morning Light 2, and in order for them to release like Medaya 2, they're gonna have to go do like revamp Medaya 1. Otherwise, I'm not gonna give two shits about it. And that's what I was saying. Like, I don't want to wait for Medaya 1 to come out and then have to also wait for Medaya 2 to come out after that. I just want my Land of the Morning Light 2 because I need closure. You left me on the world's biggest cliffhanger ever.
Beyond one.
I don't know about that. Yeah, spoiler alert.
I did not see that coming.
And I actually don't even. I still don't even. Yeah. So spoiler alert for our listeners that have not done it. You have a couple seconds to turn off your headphones. But I actually don't think Jan was still even a bad guy. But I actually do like the way that Jan would betray. Betrayal is such a strong word. She just walked in and killed a bunch of people. But aside from that, well, she really knocked them unconscious. Let's be clear. She knocked them unconscious and she took the orb. And again, I like that they made it morally ambiguous She's doing it to try to help save her father, and she's not trying to kill brother. Yeah, brother. And she's doing it not. So she's trying to save her brother, and she's not trying to kill any extra people or do any extra things, right? But she does have a plot. It is nefarious, and it is for a good. The world has been burned to the ground before on good intentions, and I like that they did that.
Yeah. Because I was in the same boat, and even Dulceway is in the same boat where he's like, well, she's gonna go wake up the evil god in the mountain, like that could be bad or it could be good, if she thinks she can actually like harness the power of him, like it could be good. She's trying to save her brother. I enjoyed it. It was a very good plot twist.
There's a really fun Easter egg if you're playing a Wusa or Megu, is that at the end she actually calls you half sister, because Wusa and Megu are like the twin princesses that were like hidden. Additionally, Dulceway also calls you, like, he figures out that you're a princess, and he continues to kill you princess at the epilogue too.
That's really cool.
Neat Easter egg.
That's cool. I like that a lot. That makes me happy.
Yeah, no, like I think they did a great job with it. I will say that so if Land of the Morning Light 2 releases next, the question I'm going to ask you guys is, do you want it to just be more boss blitz stuff, or would you rather actually have, because like I was trying to tell Jay before, I find myself lacking. I want to hang out in the new region because it's so fleshed out and really cool, but I got nothing to do. I have no reason to go grind or like do stuff. There's nothing to keep me in the region. So do you guys want more boss rush stuff, or do you want grind zones and stuff? Go ahead, Jay.
Well, there was an interesting idea that I saw in chat where they would just use Elvia Realm as a way to add like mobs to grind in the new region if they wanted to. Because it's a completely different region, right?
Chat is game.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea to make players stay in that region. What I would like to see for like the next version of that expansion would be Land of the Morning Light 1 is all about the boss splits. You can add Elvia Realm if you really want, but then Land of the Morning Light 2 is all about like back to tried and true BDO, mob grinding. Just make them interesting, make them group grind spots, outside of the main story and stuff like that. So I don't want to see Boss Blitz 2. I like the mechanic. I really like the mechanic actually. But you can work on other like versions of that, maybe for like field bosses, in the base game or something like that. I'd rather see them introduce, a reason to stay in this new zone besides just doing the boss blitz or hunting boars indefinitely for all of eternity.
Yeah, I personally would rather see at least 1 or 2 grind zones, dude. Give me a reason to be here. Like, I'm not entirely certain what that looks like. I like the Elvia Realm idea. It's always a possibility. It's pretty easy to throw in there. Why not? But like, yeah, I think that there needs to be some grind zones, something extra to do that requires me to spend hours in the new expansion. Have either of you, of course you haven't, the new boat?
The Panoxon? No.
Bro, okay, so the Panoxon, I've started my weeklies. I have begun the journey toward the new boat. It's 4 months of weeklies. 4 months.
I told you it was hard.
4 months?
Weekly.
Oh my god.
4 straight months of doing this weekly every week. And
I told you.
And basically just 100k crow coins. Horrendously designed. Literally just suck the fun out of all boat content. Don't even bother if this is the way you're going to approach boat content. I'm going to be honest with you. Gating it behind the weeklies. I like doing the dailies. Believe it or not, I liked going to Portaferia and doing dailies that were not required, but progressing content that I wanted to progress, like boat content, right? I liked doing that. Instead, it is a weekly that I have to remember to have like a timer set to do this once a week, every week. And then it's just 100k crow coins. There's no gathering involved. I don't like, I thought I was going to have to go around the new region and gather all these new materials for my boat. Remember all that time that we used to have to spend chopping logs for your Etheria sailboat? You know what I mean? You're constantly chopping trees.
Scantling,
right, usable scantling, and all the other materials that you needed for it, like the cotton and stuff. Like processing all that stuff. I was hoping it was going to be more of that, and instead we got, all right, it's just 4 months of weeklies that you bang out 10 or 15 minutes a week, and then you just pay 100k crow coins, and there's your boat. That's it. That's all there is to it. And it's just so horrendously designed. And then on top of it, they didn't even think it through. The new Panox Sun is literally, first of all, it's a box on the water, so aesthetically, it's not doing it for me. But like that set aside, I don't care. It's new boat content. I'm making it. I don't care if it looks like a literal penis sticking out of the water. I don't care. I'm making it. But like,
note to self.
The way it's designed, it has really low base stats, but it's a warship, right? So it's got low cannon reload time. There is no gear for it, as far as we're aware, so you can't even put gear on it. So its base stats are what you get, which is bad because they don't even have green gear for it, which means you can't even really do much with it. It's kind of what are you gonna do? But like on top of that,
they are adding green gear according to Chris.
Okay, well, where's my blue gear too?
Oh, I don't know.
It's right. Like I want all of that stuff. Otherwise, it's not going to be competitive with anything that's currently out. But it's okay. Let's say we get the green gear. They didn't think through the sailors. So the idea here is that it's a warship, right? So its base war stats are pretty good, but not nearly close to the Carracks. However, it has way more sailor slots. Yeah, way more sailor slots, right? So like you can put any combination of sailors that you want on this boat and really customize this boat to your own liking, as opposed to having the Carracks, which are, okay, there's one Carrack for each thing, and it has a very specific base stat that's really good. This is not used for bartering at all. This thing cannot be used for bartering. It's got like 12,000 weight, and all 12,000 weight is going to be used before you get excited. All of that is on sailors. Sailors are extremely heavy. You have like one goblin weighs 300 pounds. How? We have no idea. But like that's all of your weight is in sailors specifically. Man. So it's not a bartering ship. It's specifically combat. So you're optimizing for combat. And I like that you can hone that. However, they didn't give us 5 new sailor slots for free. You have to go into the pearl shop. I don't even like you can put 15 sailors on this boat.
Yeah, you have to expand.
You have to go. Pearls. Yeah. You have to go into the pearl shop and actually spend like $45 or like 50, $60 to just get the sailor slots you need for this boat. On top of that, you don't just need 15, you need like 20 or 30 sailor slots, which I don't even think is possible because you have your own Carracks. The only people that are doing this are people that already own Carracks, probably. And you already have sailors for your Carrack, and you don't want to use those sailors for your new Panox home, right? Like, so you need more sailors on top of that, bro. You're talking $100 just to get out the door on this thing. Like, this was so poorly designed. The weeklies are poorly designed. The 100k crow coins, is this a joke, man? Crow coins are like, crow coins are already difficult enough to get, and they're required for like everything that you do on the ocean, which is great and everything, but requiring them to make a boat that is literally basically entry level to get onto the ocean is obnoxious. Is absolutely obnoxious. I understand requiring crow coins for the blue gear. I understand requiring crow coins for the green gear to equip your boat, but not to build the boat. Like that's obnoxious. So the 100k crow coin requirement is obnoxious. The weekly is absurd. Should have been a daily, and it should have been 2 months of dailies. Like you just do the dailies every day instead of 4 months of once a week. I have to remember to do my boat weekly. It's just horrendously designed. Anyway, I just wanted to touch on that real quick because I know you guys aren't doing it, but I am going through suffering, and you guys need to be aware of it.
I was actually going to follow you up. I was thinking about dabbling in it because I actually like the aesthetic of the new boat because I'm a weirdo. But you have to kill fucking Goldmont pirate ships for the weekly. Yeah. And I was like,
that's really easy.
I don't have a Carrack, so
no, but you have friends with Carracks.
I mean, that's true, but that means I have to go grab, somebody that will take me out.
You can go with blue.
No. To be clear, it's fully obtainable. You could just have a Bartali boat and get this done. I'm in the process. I got to make an everything ocean and boats guide and everything, and it'll include the Panox Sun. There'll be a section on it, but like you could theoretically make the Panox Sun without having a single other boat. Either you have someone do the weekly for you, or you sail out on your own boat. And you can leave an alt out there as it is completable on different characters. So you can literally just sail your boat out there with a Furious sailboat, for example. You just sail it out there. And all you have to kill is one small Goldmont battleship.
Oh, okay.
That's the
Anywhere
weekly?
on the map.
That's it?
Or no, you have to kill 3. I'm sorry, you have to kill 3.
Okay, yeah.
3. But like anywhere on the map. Anywhere on the map. So you could literally just park it really close to like Portaferia or like right on top of those. And none of them will aggro.
I thought it
The
was
big
the
ones?
gold.
Nope.
I thought the weekly was the one that gives the gold. Crap, I can't think of what they're
So
called.
the weekly only requires you to kill the small gold mod battleships. It actually doesn't even complete. If you try to kill a medium or a large, it won't even complete. You must kill the small gold mod battleships.
Oh, okay.
And the gold mod battleships drop like this new drop. There's like these 2 new drops that drop from them, and they help you complete like presumably by the 4 months that you've done the weekly, you have like the amount of drops you need as long as you're picking up the loot every time. You might have to do a few more, but like it's really not that many more. But it's obtainable. Yeah, it's going to take you definitely a lot longer if you have to get off, manually fire the cannon. If you don't have self-firing cannons, yeah, it's going to take you. It's going to take you a second.
Go make the caravel or the whatever the frigate one's
or just
called.
make the improved sailboat if you have to, or something like.
It doesn't take.
As long as you have
to do those things.
As long as you have the self-firing cannons, it's a joke. And I have a second carrack that it's just sitting on those. It's just sitting on the battleships.
On the gold
and so I just swap over. I one-shot the battleships, and then I swap back. I complete my weekly, and I'm done. But like, that's it, man. It's just I don't know. It's just kind of horrendously.
I wanted to see underwater gathering and glue and lobsters come back. I'm gonna keep it a bean.
Sadly, the world's and they could have made like a whole new coral reef system around like the kingdom of Haso and stuff. That says the world shines on terrestrial dwellers. Obnoxious. I don't know. I'm gonna make it anyway, in spite of them. I'm gonna make it.
Maybe
anyway.
there is a hidden coral reef that nobody has found yet in the new region. Have you explored the ocean?
There's nothing there. There's nothing there. Other than what was there.
Okay.
There's nothing really there. Like I'll keep swimming, but ain't nothing.
Keep swimming.
All right. So the final topic that I want to talk about, and I know we're running over a little bit, are the workers and nodes. This shouldn't take too long. First of all, how do we feel about the contribution distribution in this new region as opposed to previous regions?
Definitely a lot cheaper.
Amazing.
Yes. Oh my gosh. What a concept. 1 contribution for each node. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 3 total contribution for pine timber and pine sap. I'm in. You know what I mean? Like not like 14 contribution to get 1 node that's bringing in pine. Woo! Like yeah, no, that is really great. How do you guys feel? And Jay, you brought this up in your outline here. How do you guys feel about the Dokebi forest you can only apply Dokebi workers to the Dokebi forest? How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I mean,
Jay first.
Yeah, I thought it was like a really interesting. I thought it was like bugged at first because I was trying to put my what is it called, my docile worker, whatever, the human worker on the Dokebi node because I had like it was connected. I was like, why is this happening? And then I realized that you have to put Dokebi workers on that. So I thought that was a really interesting idea where when the auto recovery system for workers came out, right, we were all concerned whether artisan giants still had a niche. So I think maybe introducing and reworking pre-existing nodes to allow for certain race-specific workers can give giants and other less commonly used workers like Fetus or Papu or dwarves a lot more value. Like let's say there's a really, really rare item in Valencia, but only a dwarf worker can go in that node, right? I think that would add a lot of depth to the node worker system rather than just relying on goblins for everything nowadays. So yeah, I think it was a really interesting idea. I think they should expand upon it that way.
So also, that's not entirely true with the goblins. Goblins and giants are very comparable if you have a good version of each. There was I linked it. You didn't read it. Blue. I know you remember seeing the numbers. It was a gazillion numbers. Somebody did the math, wild. And if good giants are still good giants, good goblins are still good goblins. The one that is left out is demons. Still not good. But yeah, your giants from that you had from days gone when you were couldn't feed your workers all the time. They're still good. If you have good ones, they're still good. They're comparable to one another, so all is not lost there. But That is an interesting concept because Faddis, and especially with trash crates gone, what is it? The artisan papus that you used to put in Old Wisdom Tree, yeah, those are worthless now. Blue, do you even have papu workers in Old Wisdom Tree anymore?
Oh, those aren't useless. Papus are great. Yeah. Oh, not an Old Wisdom
like
Tree.
goblins, right?
Yeah, not an Old Wisdom Tree, but I have them in Grana.
The trick with Old Wisdom Tree was the trash crates.
Yeah, I don't. Well, yeah, I don't really like Old Wisdom Tree, so I don't actually have any worker. And I have a very extensive worker empire, and like I have like 112 artisan workers that all have a job. So like, and they're all fleshed out and done. I don't actually have any workers in Old Wisdom Tree because I find that the nodes around it are actually just so much contribution or just not worthwhile that I just don't care enough. Yep. With the exception of the the Moss Tree sap node sucks too, man. Like that, like they all just suck. Every single node around Old Wisdom Tree kind of sucks. But Papu workers are actually pretty good. I just don't like that they keep using the same design. Papus are goblins. Dokebis are basically goblins. I know that Jay just said that they weren't, but I promise you that they basically are goblins. And then then the humans are literally humans, and then the other one, the turtles are, get this,
the turtles,
giants.
They're the giants, yeah.
Turts.
So like, yeah, that's cool and everything. I actually don't like the worker specific. I think it's okay to do it for like lore specific stuff like this. Like you have one or two nodes that are like, okay, you have to put Dokebi workers on that node or they won't let them into that region. That's fair. But I think it kind of destroys the worker system and like the freedom you have with setting up your worker empire if you do that with too many nodes. But like it
does add a lot more complexity.
Yeah, as they've set it up here, I like it. But like, yeah, no more of that unless it's very lore specific. But
yeah, little one-offs like that are fine. The weird thing about that is that I'm surprised you can't put humans on it because Dokebis love the Mr. Kims.
Mr. Kim.
So
I
like,
still
regardless
don't know
of
who
what
Mr. Kim is. I still don't understand who Mr. Kim is. And at this point, I'm too afraid to ask.
Refer to humans.
Yeah, it's what Dokebis call humans. They're just Mr. Kims.
That couldn't possibly be because Jay has a massive ego and it's Jay He Kim owns the company.
I just realized
couldn't
that.
Possibly be that reason, could it?
They're referring to him actually.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Oh no! That was the first thing I thought of, bro.
Why'd you ruin that for me?
I'm so sorry. That is 100% the reason, no question. So yeah, I don't know. I like it, and I liked it. Honestly, one of my favorite parts about the new expansion, they finally are getting contribution right, bro. Stop forcing me to spend 45 contribution to get a wild berry, bro. What is going on?
Connect the stars in, everybody.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I love it. I love it to death. All right, any closing thoughts that you guys want to add here?
I'll go first. I'll go ahead and hop on. So I'm a super huge fan of the boss blitzes. I think they just absolutely nailed that part out of the park. I think the storyline for Land of the Morning Light is also phenomenal. Even compared to like really good stories in other games, I think it is still a good story regardless of how you look at it. Is it as good as Heavensward? No. Is it as good as WoW? I've never played WoW, so I don't have an opinion on that.
No.
Allegedly, no. But I think it's good. I think it is 110% the best step story-wise that they've taken yet. So keep doing that. And yeah, I think just you've got a formula now. Introduce a really cool, very deep, fleshed out mechanic with each new expansion, and you'll probably have expansions that continue to just rise in popularity. Because Boss Blitz is fantastic. Even the rest of the expansion aside, it's exactly what I think PvE players in BDO were looking for. Competitive PvE content that doesn't have to do with grinding circles. It's what I have been waiting for years. So I think they did a really good job.
Yeah. Okay. And Tiltus, your outro?
Yeah, I'm Tiltus TV. I am a content creator for BDO. I do lots of PvP. I shot call for the I shot call for the Alliance Solace. I'm a fledgling life skiller trying to get deeper into that, and I am now very intrigued in the story of BDO. I play a lot of Dark Souls, so if you enjoy Dark Souls style streams or anything like that, or you want to talk to somebody that knows way too much about Dark Souls, feel free to pop by sometime. I can talk your ear off about it for 3 days and not get tired. And I stream every day of the week now. So
what?
Yeah,
You stream every day?
I stream every day right now. So
Oh my god.
What the? Bro,
yeah. Well, you got to remember. So my disclaimer for that is that on Node War days, I only stream shot calling. Shot calling is on a delay, and I do not interact with chat. That is me and guild time. That is me as a leader of the guild. That is our time. We're doing our thing. We're trying to be competitive. So that's the one disclaimer for every day of the week. Yes, I shot call 3 days of the week. So, not quite, like hard, deep,
no, you don't understand. Streaming your shot calling is absolutely content. I've been living on the basis of this for years.
I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying it's a different.
Undersell the level of content that you bring when you, even if you don't interact with chat at all, they eat that up. They love watching you literally pop blood vessels. And almost died at brain aneurysm.
Oh yeah, the vein on my forehead, it gets really visible when I start shot calling. So, if you want to see the other bald man rage, you can come check me out.
Right on. And Jay, any closing thoughts on the expansion you wanted to get in? I know we didn't get to everything today.
Yeah, I think Tilta's touched on everything I was gonna say, but yeah, 100%. Like, this is amazing solo PvE content. I'm just only hoping that that this was like they're capable. Like this kind of has proven that they can create like meaningful and engaging boss fights, and I'm really hoping that translates into more group oriented PvE content in the future. Perhaps dungeons or raids
with a friend.
More of that. Boss blitz with a friend, basically.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Juiced. That would be sick.
I'm J-Kun. I do a lot of endgame PvE content such as Olins, the dungeons, and now Boss Blitz. And I'm happy to answer questions, anything about the game. So you can find me over at twitch.tv/JKunVTV before the T.
Oh my God, Jay, I'm proud of you. You got through that whole outro without mentioning your gear score a single time.
Oh my God.
I'm so proud of you.
60 gear score.
Yeah, he forgot.
I forgot.
Yeah, no. And I am, of course, Blue Squadron. We're doing all kinds of content on this channel. I'm getting back on my YouTube grind. The big project this summer is, of course, YouTube, but we've been doing stream event after stream event after stream event. And I'll admit, it is taxing being a full-time creator during the summer. I'm a teacher during the year, so I've become a part-time content creator there. But in the summer months, this is my time when I can make as much content as humanly possible. So yeah, I do shot calling content a lot like Tiltus does. On Saturdays, Sundays are my chill grind streams. I get to interact with chat. We're always doing something weird on Sundays. And then Mondays are typically always Fun Day Mondays, and Tuesdays are the Old Moon Podcast. As always, remember you can find the Old Moon Podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. You can also find it on my YouTube. It's usually posted a few hours after the podcast ends live here, although I'm going to have to do a little extra editing as the audio at the beginning was a little scuffed. So I apologize to our listeners for that. There will be a little jump, but what are you going to do? Aside from that, guys, we absolutely love making this content. Please let us know how much you like or dislike the content in the comment section below, or even on Spotify. You can subscribe and leave comments there as well. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your evening and week. Boys, we can't wait to get back to it next week.